Hello, everyone, and I hope you are all well. My name is Tanner Dagenay, and I am the host of Self-Sabotage Solutions. On this podcast, it's my pleasure and my opportunity to be able to share self-sabotage solutions to you and to be able to share everything I know about, moving forward in life, becoming healthier, becoming happier. And I know these things work because I've done them in my life. Other people have done them. I've shared it with other people, and they've been able to do them as well. And they're just overall really important things to be doing in your life. But today we're going to be talking about a subject I think be, um, everyone can relate to, and it's food. Food is so important in our lives, and most of our lives actually revolve around food. If we didn't eat food, we would die. And but at the same time, I think people have lost track of why we eat food, and that's why I really want to talk about today is, people think of food as kind of like as a pleasure source. And yeah, some people, most people know that they need to eat it to survive, but really, why else are we eating food? We're eating food so that our body can get the nutrients that it needs to be able to function correctly, to be able to operate efficiently, and not only our body but our mind. And so when we are eating foods that are lacking nutrients, that are high in toxins, that are very unhealthy for us, they're very, have a lot of chemical additives in them, a lot of preservatives, a lot of things that you really shouldn't be eating. It has a very negative effect on our bodies and our minds. And that's what I want to talk about today, because really I think we are, as a society, are going down a very dark path with food. And we are going away from what we should be doing. We should be going back to what our ancestors ate, organic food. And really, it's interesting that they call, organic food now, before it used to just be called food. In my opinion, they should be kind of changing that around, because it kind of gives people a, I think, a weird perspective of organic food, because they don't just think of it as actual food. They think of it as something extra you have to pay for, right? But really, that is food. That is what our ancestors ate. That is what we should be eating. That is what naturally grows. The other stuff nowadays we have, that's just covered in pesticides, fungicides, herbicides, chemical additives. There is all these harmful substances, and food dyes, and who knows what else in all this food. Countless different things depending on what product you're eating, and no one bats an eye when they're consuming it. And the government agencies that are there to protect us aren't doing a damn thing about it. And it's so important that we talk about this, and we realize that, we have to be the ones to protect ourselves. We have to be the ones to, be the filter between what goes in our body and what doesn't. Because if we're not the ones doing that, if we're not the ones who are aware of the ingredients that are in our food, then we're going to be consuming a bunch of crap, essentially, a bunch of toxins, a bunch of poison almost. And that's what I really want to talk about today is, what people are eating is essentially tainted food. It is food that is just like full of toxins, that is nutrient deficient, that has all these chemical additives in it, and pesticides and fungicides and herbicides on it. And anyone who believes it doesn't affect them, they're just lying to themselves. Like, it's been proven that these things are negative to your body, and yet no one does anything about it. And a good way to think about this is, we have the most advanced technology we've ever had, right? We have, the most knowledge on medicine and science and whatever, but yet we are still one of the most unhealthy we've ever been. Rates of depression are increasing, rates of obesity are increasing, and they're all like exponential rates. People's addictions are increasing, anxiety is increasing, disease is increasing, cancer is increasing. Why is this? Why are people so unhealthy? And it boils down, there's a lot of different reasons, but one of the major reasons is what people are eating, what people are consuming, what they're putting onto and into their bodies. So this is why I want to talk to you about this, because if you just keep taking the eating the same food that everyone else is eating, that is in the majority of grocery stores, restaurants, in gas stations, you're going to be essentially poisoning yourself. And I hate to say it, but if you don't want to hear the truth, then maybe you shouldn't be listening to this podcast, because I'm going to always try to tell you the truth. And I'm not going to hold back, because I think that hearing the truth is so important in today's day and age. I'm not going to sugarcoat things. I'm going to tell you straight up. Like, this stuff is poison. This stuff that you are consuming, this is not good for you. You need to be able to realize that. You need to be able to be the one who stops it. Because if you don't stop eating all this crap, all this junk food, stop consuming alcohol every day, stop smoking cigarettes, do all these things, you're going to go down that path of depression, disease, addiction, an early death, possibly, most likely, probably, because that's just the way it works in your body. You are literally assaulting yourself every single day with these actions, and abusing yourself and holding yourself down. And it's hard for me to see other people do this, and it's hard for me to think back to myself when I was doing all these things. I used to be that person where anytime I had a chance, I would be drinking tons of sodas. Like, I had a friend in high school, and his mom or his family, they had this storeroom in their basement, and it was full of all these, like, all this junk food, all these Gushers, all these fruit roll-ups, all these sodas, all these chips, all these candies. And every time I'd go over there, I would just gorge on it. I would have like 5 packs of Gushers. I'd have like 4 sodas, and I'd feel like terrible. But for some reason, I still wanted to do it. And I'll also address, why are we so compelled to eat these things? Why are we so compelled to want to eat these foods? I'll mention that in a little further down the podcast, but I want to continue talking about this negative food. And really, overall, it's just negative food and products. But let's talk a little bit about organic food and why it's so important. Most people think it's just because there's fungicides, pesticides, herbicides on there, and maybe they don't think that actually goes into their body. But it's been proven that when you consume these foods that have been sprayed with these products, it gets into your system. And think about it. When someone's spraying these, they're covered up. They're protecting themselves from these harmful chemicals. And there's a reason why, because they're extremely dangerous. Have you looked at Roundup and all the damage it's caused to people? And this is a good example of how the government's not really protecting us, because Roundup's still out there. And the only reason why there's enough even recognition about how dangerous Roundup is because enough people got hurt, enough people brought them to court and have won, that there's news and there's knowledge out there that it's so dangerous. But yet it's still on the shelves. It's still out there despite all this. You think that the government, if they were trying to regulate and protect the population and make them healthy, you think that'd be one of their number one goals, is to have a healthy population, right? But no, we see all these, and there's not just Roundup, there's tons of products out there that are just being let into the market without any proof that they are safe for us. And that should be something that should be, be changed, because we can't be the guinea pigs any longer. And well, we can't wait on the government to make this change. That's why you got to be your own protection. You got to be your own filter. You got to be your own researcher. You got to be looking into these things. Don't take my word for it. If you're buying, products, look into the ingredients. If you're buying non-organic food, look into why, non-organic food is unhealthy for you. Not only does it have those, chemicals we're talking about, the pesticides, the fungicides, the herbicides, all the I's in it, right? But it also has it's nutrient deficient. It's been shown, there's been different studies shown that organic food actually has much more nutrients in it than the non-organic food. So there was a study done with organic lettuce heads, right? And they compare them to the nutrients in non-organic lettuce heads. And they found that the organic lettuce heads had about 10 times the nutrients than the non-organic lettuce heads. 10 times. Are you serious? You'd have to eat 10 whole lettuce heads, non-organic lettuce heads, to be able to be on the same level as an organic lettuce head. Do you realize how serious that is? How crazy that is? And not only that, if you ate all those lettuce heads, you'd be consuming all those pesticides, fungicides, and herbicides that were on sprayed on the lettuce. So now on top of not getting the nutrients, you're also getting poisoned and toxins. So no wonder people's immune systems are broken. No wonder people's bodies are sick. No wonder people are depressed because they're not getting the nutrients they want and need in their life. And have you ever had that feeling after you ate that you were still hungry? There's a good reason that this happens. This actually happens because your body knows what nutrients it needs, and so if it doesn't get those nutrients when you ate, it still feels hungry. It's still saying, hey, we need those nutrients. So that's why you're getting that feeling. And more specifically, it's not your body that's saying this, it's actually your subconscious mind, because your subconscious mind is in control of all your body. So your subconscious mind is giving you that urge to eat because you didn't get the nutrients that you needed to be able to survive, to be able to operate efficiently. And this is why people overeat all the time. This is why people are constantly eating, because they don't get the nutrients they need in their life. So when people say, I just am like addicted to food and I just always want to constantly eat, there's probably a reason why. And it's most likely because they're not getting the nutrients that they want. There could be some other reasons as well, but that's one of the main reasons, is they're not getting the nutrients that they need. So that's something that we all need to be aware of, is what nutrients are you getting in your life? What kind of foods are you eating every day? Are you eating the same foods every single day? You're not going to be getting different kinds of nutrients that you need. If you're always eating chicken and rice every single day, you won't be getting the nutrients that you might need from, maybe some beef, or maybe some, whatever, some grains, some corn, some broccoli. There's lots of different things you can be eating, different varieties of things. And then even within, like, let's say carrots, there's not just orange carrots. Many people think that orange carrots are the only kind of carrots. There's yellow carrots, purple, white. There's a big variety of colors of carrots, and that you should be eating essentially the rainbow. Try to eat a bunch of different colors of foods. Try to be eating organic, raw foods. When you start to cook something, it actually loses some of its nutrients. And I don't know if you know that, but cooking anything will usually reduce the amount of nutrients in it. For some vegetables, it's the opposite, well, not necessarily the opposite, but when you cook them, different kinds of nutrients come out. So some vegetables, it's okay to be cooking, but a lot of people overcook their food too much, and then they lose all the nutrients in that way. Or they're using the microwave. Definitely avoid the microwave if you can, because that irradiates your food. Think about it. It uses microwave radiation to cook your food. It makes the food particles vibrate extremely intense until they heat it up. Well, sorry, the water molecules inside the food, which can actually cause the food, like the food cells to burst, and then that actually destroys the nutrients even further. Have you ever wondered why microwave food just tastes so much worse than like a home cooked meal? Or, if you ever warmed something up in the microwave and it didn't taste nearly as good as before? Or have you ever tried, warming something up in the microwave and then taking that same thing and warming up in the oven and comparing the two? The oven's gonna be tasting better almost 100% of the time. And that's because you're radiating your food with the microwave. I don't even use a microwave. We have one in our house, but it's not because we put it there. It's because it was there originally. So that it just kind of sits there collecting dust, to tell you the truth. I don't even warm up water. I don't warm up nothing with it because I don't want any radiation in my food. I don't want it to be radiated. I wouldn't submit myself to that because I know better. I've done the research, and I'm not going to put that in my body. It's not worth it to me. I don't need that little bit of time I might save by using the microwave, because I know down the line it's going to be affecting me more. And that's really important to think about when you're thinking about food, or even anything in life. You got to stop thinking short term, right? You got to stop thinking, oh, right now I just really want to have this cheeseburger. It's going to make me feel so good. That's short term thinking. What happens in the long term? Are you going to be gaining weight? Are you going to be feeling, are you going to have a stomach ache after? Are you going to be like constipated? Are you going to be having diarrhea? Are you going to be having those sorts of things? Are you going to start having congestion in your body? And a lot of people don't even realize this when they do eat things like that. They don't realize how it actually affects them because they're not aware of their bodies. So something you can start thinking about to even see how these foods are affecting you is start cutting them out of your life. Then every once in a while, eat one of them and pay attention to how you feel for like the next 24 to 78 hours, because your body actually can take that long to process that food and go for it all the way through your system. And so it might still be affecting you throughout that time. So and I've done this before. So I don't eat fast food anymore. Every once in a while, and I stopped this because every once in a while I'll eat at Chick-fil-A or something. I've stopped this recently because I just don't, I've already experimented enough with it, and I know it's not good for me. It's terrible for me. And every time I would get upset stomach, I'd not feel good. And then this last time I got a parasite in me from eating that Chick-fil-A. And I shit you not, was from the Chick-fil-A, because I did not have parasite in me before, and then afterwards I knew it was from me. And there's ways of being able to talk to your body or your subconscious mind to figure out what nutrients you need, to figure out, if you have parasites in you, to figure out these sorts of things. And I'll talk a little bit about that too. It's called muscle testing. I'll talk about that in a little bit later here in the podcast. But yeah, it's so important we look at what we're eating. So important we regulate what we're eating. And on top of that, think about what you're drinking, what you're consuming. Are you drinking sodas all the time that have all these sugars? Like, are you having high fructose corn syrup? Are you just having normal corn syrup in your foods? Are you drinking a bunch of caffeinated beverages? Because caffeine has been shown to stress out the body, has been shown to diminish the body. And so you need to be aware of these things. It's a lot of different information and a lot of different things you have to be aware of, because like I said, the government's not there protecting us. It's not doing its job of regulating what's in our foods, what's in our products. And some people might be like, oh, whatever, like, I'm still alive, I'm still doing good. Are you though? Are you feeling good? Are you getting aches and pains? Are you sleeping right? Do you feel like you have a ton of energy? Are you feeling healthy? Are you feeling like the top of your game? Are you feeling like you're getting beat down? Do you feel like you're weak? Do you feel like you're lacking energy? Do you feel drained? Do you just go home and feel like you have to relax and watch TV? Do you feel like you have to have that alcohol after days of work? Changing what you eat actually changes these things, because if you have the right nutrients in your body, or are you getting sick all the time? Did you get, the COVID, or did you get the flu? Were you getting sick? I haven't been sick since I started eating healthy, to tell you the truth. The only time I got somewhat sick is I got a food poisoning from eating something that I shouldn't have eaten at a fast food restaurant when I was trying to see how it affected me. And it gave me the perfect example not to go back to it, perfect reason not to go back to that crap. And that's what you need to do. Start cutting it out of your life. And then if you want to try it out, once you've cut it out of your life for at least like a couple weeks, try it out and see how it makes you feel. Almost positive you will find that you won't feel very good after. And there's a reason why. It's because it's full of crap. Have you seen how long McDonald's burgers last for? I think all of us have seen that, or just last for like years and years and years, because it's so highly preserved, and there's so much chemicals in it that really it's not food at that point. If your food lasts on the shelves for like years and years and years, it's most likely not going to be very good food. Now, there are some products, of course, that can do that naturally, but most things can't do that. Most things aren't meant to do that. They're meant to rot. They're meant to go bad. And that's how you can tell it's actual good food for you. That's how you can tell it's something you might want to be eating. You want to be eating those vegetables. You want to be eating the tomatoes. You want to be eating, healthy animals. If you're going to be consuming meat, don't go for the farmed meat. Don't go for the stuff that's full of antibiotics. Don't go for the stuff that is, put into like a giant farm and just treated like crap and they were fed, I don't know if you know like a lot of farming practices, but a lot of those animals, they eat like sawdust. They're being fed sawdust, roadkill, like crap essentially. And the reason why they feed those things to them is because that's the that's a way to get them to gain weight. Because if you're putting a bunch of toxins into something, the body's natural response to protect it will be creating fat cells to store those toxins, protect it. So when you are eating that animal, you're eating like essentially a tainted animal, toxic animal, an animal that has been abused, an animal that is full of chemicals, and it's extremely sad. Not only are you eating that, you're supporting that company that's doing that. You're supporting that and making it, happen more, because the more we spend our money something, the more we are actually casting a vote. That's our real vote. That's our real voting power in this world, is where we spend our money. If everyone stopped spending their money on this crap, it would go away. It would go away very, very quick. I'll tell you what. These companies wouldn't be able to survive any longer. They would start to have to shut down or start changing and start getting that organic food, start changing and start, going for healthier alternatives. And we've been seeing more of that actually. So that is fantastic, because I know when I first started eating organic, about like probably 7 years ago, maybe a little bit less, maybe like 7 to 5 years, there wasn't nearly as many organic choices. But the organic movement has been growing, and we've been seeing more and more organic products come on the market. Better products, healthier products, products that you can feel good eating, because you're not spending your money on poison. You're not spending your money on food that is nutrient deficient. And then the cool thing is, even though the organic food may cost more, you might actually start saving money, because not only will you be, eating less, because your body's getting the nutrients it needs, so it will start turning off those hunger signals sooner than later. But think about it, down the line, you won't be going to the doctor. You won't be getting sick as often. When you're getting sick all the time, you lose out on money. When you're getting sick all the time, you lose out on life and experiences. When you're going to the doctor all the time, those medical bills can cost so much. And obviously it depends on where you are in the world, because in America, it's a much different problem than maybe in Europe, where a lot of your medical bills are covered. But it's still very important. You got to think about this. How is this affecting you? What kind of food have you been eating? What are you doing in your life? Are you setting yourself up for success? Are you setting yourself up to be healthy and happy for the rest of your life? Are you setting yourself up to be diseased, depressed, and obese? And that's something we can all look at, and we can all change if we want to. So I know I touched on a lot of things, but now there's a couple of things I want to go back and talk on that I've talked about. So let's talk about the toxins and how they actually affect your body. And let's talk about, what your body's natural process is to deal with those toxins. And you can see my dog in the back here, Sadie. She is just, she's a little scared of something. And if you're on the podcast, obviously you can't see her, but sorry, my dog Sadie just distracted me a little bit. But this food is so important. And let's talk about the toxins, like I was talking about. So your body can naturally handle toxins, and that's true, right? Your body can handle them with its liver, the kidneys. The normal process is, you eat these foods, any toxins that come in, they'll go through your filtering systems, which are your liver and kidneys, and they'll start working on them and try to break them down and get them out. You'll poop them out or pee them out. That's usually the way the toxins are dealt with. But let's say your liver and kidneys are full. They are on maximum overdrive, because you not only are consuming the pesticides, the fungicides, and the herbicides, not only is there like heavy metals you might be consuming, not only is there the caffeine and the alcohol, not only is there a ton of stress in your system, not only is there, chemical additives and food dyes, there's all these different things, right? Maybe there's also toxins coming to your body from like the hair products you use, from the shampoo and conditioner, from certain clothes you're wearing. From all these things, there's toxins coming into your system, right? So when they, and it's, on small levels, your body can handle them. Your body can protect you from them because our bodies are pretty amazing. And even on large scale, your body will do its best to protect you. And it's like I'm talking about with gaining the fat. So what will happen if your kidneys and liver is overloaded with toxins is it will take those toxins that it can't handle right now and start storing them in fat cells. But let's say you run out of fat cells, right? Your body will create new fat cells to be able to store those toxins in. Because the reason why it's storing them in the fat cells is it's kind of like a protective it's a protective mechanism essentially. So it is protecting your body because it knows the fat cells can keep the toxins safe and keep them from harming your body. And then what it will do to protect the fat cells even further is it will start to create extracellular water and put it around the fat cells to as like another source of protection. So when you see people with like flabby arms, with like an extra chin that looks flabby, flabby thighs, that's usually a sign of this extracellular water. And that's usually a sign that they're full of toxins. And it's not, I don't say this if you have these things to be shamed or to feel bad about, but to make you aware of what the reason why you're gaining the weight. A lot of people think I'm just gaining weight because that's my body type, or I can't help it, right? But for most people, they're gaining weight because they're consuming crap. They're consuming toxins. Even when they're eating somewhat healthy, but non-organic, they're consuming those toxins. And their body is accumulating those toxins and it's trying to fight through them, but it's not able to. So it's storing them in the fat cells to protect them. And this is a big reason why obesity is raising in America and probably all over the world, because a lot of people are getting poisoned like they've never been poisoned before. Like the American Western diet has always not been the best, but it's gotten worse and worse over time. And I think a lot of people don't realize how bad it's gotten. And, that's why each new generation is having more and more problems, more and more disease, more and more sickness, because their immune systems are broken. Their immune systems are broken. And, their bodies are weak because they don't have the nutrients they need to function. Their livers and kidneys are overloaded. And it's hard to see, and it's hard to watch people when I go to the grocery store sometimes just fill up their cart with a bunch of junk. Although, to tell you the truth, at my grocery store I go to, there's not nearly almost like any of that junk in there. There is some, but the grocery store I go to has a lot more healthy options. The one I go to is Earth Fare, but there's places like Sprouts, there's places like Natural Grocers, there's places like Whole Food. I try to avoid Whole Food a little bit more than other places. I just don't like to support Amazon as much as I can. But this is so important that you think about these things. Where are you getting your food? And a lot of other grocery stores are starting to get more organic food in them, more organic products, but often it'll be very limited. And often I've noticed when I go into like a Walmart or like a King Supers or like something equivalent to one of those two, I'll notice that organic food has been sitting there for longer, so it's not as fresh. And that's something also to think about. The sooner you eat something the sooner you eat something based on like when it was picked, usually the better it is for you because it have more nutrients at that point. And as it sits there and starts to get older, it starts to lose some of that nutrients and some of that healthiness, and sometimes it can even gain some more toxins within it, or some things that can negatively affect our body and hold us down. So it's important to think about that as well. So that's kind of how the way toxins work in our body, and that's why it's so important that we address it. But even beyond well, actually a little bit more about the toxins, because I think it's important to address this part too. The more toxins we have in our body, the more our body's pH levels actually turn acidic. And it's important we understand what this means. So the more acidic our body's pH level is, the more that diseases, cancers, molds, and fungus and parasites can thrive. And these things can have a very harmful effect on our body. You know, and it could be other things like candida or yeast infections. Those things also grow and thrive in acidic environments. So if your body is full of toxins, then you're literally creating the perfect environment for harmful um, organisms and harmful things to be growing inside your body. And I think many people have parasites, fungus, molds, yeast, candida, you know, some kind of thing like that within their body that they don't really realize. I know I did when I had first started going through this process, and I did a parasite cleanse. But if you're gonna do a parasite cleanse, you want to address the root cause of the problem. Because if you do a parasite cleanse, get that parasite out of you, and you're still gonna be eating that crap, parasites are gonna come right back, because that's just the way it is. You know, then you might as well not even do that, because you're just gonna be wasting time and money. So I want you to think about this. What are you eating in your body? Are you setting yourself up for success? Are you setting yourself up, or you're setting yourself up for your body to be a breeding ground for parasites, mold, fungus, and all kinds of negative things? Are you setting up your body to be storing all the toxins inside your fat cells so that way you gain all that weight? You know, there is a reason why you're gaining that weight. There is a reason why you're feeling depressed. And that's why I also want to talk about with those toxins. They can negatively affect our brain, and they can be very harmful to our brain. Some of these toxins, so like certain heavy metals or fluoride, those things can actually pass the blood-brain barrier and affect our brain. And also, if you're not getting the right nutrients, your blood-brain barrier actually might be smaller. And I don't know if you know what the blood-brain barrier is, but it's a barrier that essentially protects your brain from harmful substances coming in. So if you're not eating the right foods like omega-3s, omega-6s, and getting the good balance of that, and getting the right nutrients, your omega barrier or your blood-brain barrier might be actually be smaller, and more things might be able to get into your brain and damage them. And your brain is one of the most valuable assets you have. You got to protect it. You got to protect your body and treat yourself with some respect. You know, toxic you know, have you ever heard the phrase healthy body, happy mind, or happy body, happy mind? It's because it's so true. You know, when the body grooves, when the body moves, the brain grooves. And that's true as well. So like the body and mind are connected. So if you are eating crap, your brain is going to feel crappy. If you are never moving, your brain might not be able to do as well, because it's not getting that movement from the body. It's not being worked. It's not being tested out in the way it should. You know, we as humans used to do a lot of moving around. We used to be constantly moving, and then we started to become more and more and more lazy. But a lot of it was because of technology. Now we can sit in front of a computer screen all day and help people across the world. Now we can be on like a call center and be doing that all day, instead of actually going out and helping people in their faces and speaking with them and, you know, conversing with them. Now we have cars and planes and things, so we don't have to travel and walk or bike or, you know, do something more active. And this is what's happened. Now we have video games, so people don't even have to play the sports. They can play them on the video game and get that same effect and not get the exercise. But it's so important that we address these things, that we address, you know, what are you eating? What are you doing in life to make yourself healthier? What are you consuming? What are you drinking? Are you drinking alcohol every night? Are you drinking soda? Are you putting toxic products on your body? Are you putting toxic lotions, toxic things like that? And I want to talk a little bit about feeling like this is just your body type, or that these were the genes handed down to you from your parents. On some level, that may be true, but I think a lot of people don't realize, and a lot of doctors don't talk about this, which is kind of frustrating to me, that what else are we handing down to our kids? What else are we handing down to the next generation? We're handing down our eating habits usually. We're handing down, our nutrients and our toxins. So when a mother has a baby in the womb, that baby gets all the toxins and nutrients from the mother. So if the mother is nutrient deficient and full of toxins, that baby is going to start life exactly like that. So each generation is going to be worse and worse off, because not only are they starting off on like a worse level, but the food is getting worse. So they're becoming more and more unhealthy. And so this is a compounding effect. So not only, you know, are your kids learning from, or sorry, not only are your kids getting those toxins and the nutrients from you when they're born and when they're growing, but they're learning your actions. So they're watching you eat all this junk food. They're watching you drink alcohol every night. They're watching you drink sodas all the time. They're watching you abuse your body and treat your body like a garbage can, like a disposal. Like that's really what a lot of this stuff should or what should happen to a lot of this food. I just did, if you're on the podcast, I just did a little finger parentheses around food, because a lot of it's not really food. A lot of it is just food-like substances, that's essentially full of chemicals, and our bodies don't recognize them as food. And so really, this food should be thrown in the trash. This food should be thrown in the garbage disposal, and not, like, it shouldn't be put into our bodies. It almost shouldn't even be put into the world at all, because it's going to have a negative effect on the earth and on everything. Um, and all these farming practices have a very serious effect on the earth and on us as well. So it's all just coming down on us, and it all has a compounding effect, and it's going to be affecting our kids. It's If you think that you eating like this is not going to influence your kids to eat like this and to treat themselves like garbage in the future, you're very mistaken, because it's been proven that kids mimic us. It's been proven that kids will mimic their parents, and maybe they not mimic like the exact actions, but they'll often take things that are very similar. And that's because there's a part of our mind, the subconscious, that is drawn to the familiar. But even more specifically, when we are kids, between the ages of 2 and 7, this part of our mind is on hyper overdrive, and it's in a state of hypnosis. Essentially, it's in a theta wave brain state. And what this brain state is for learning. It's for recording, essentially, what it sees. And it's absorbing all the information it can to try to keep us safe, essentially. So when we were kids, if we didn't learn, how to act in society, how to eat, how to talk, all these things, we'd be in very serious trouble and danger. And this is what the subconscious's main job is to keep us safe, to keep us fitting in with society. That's why kids are able to learn things so quick, because the subconscious mind is super active at that point, and our brain is in that theta state. So it's in hypnosis state. It's learning. It's recording things at an immense level. And if you want to know how strong the subconscious mind is, so your conscious mind, right? Let's just actually talk about the two different parts of your mind real quick. I think that's important to address. Your conscious mind. Everyone, I think, knows about the conscious mind. That's how we do our critical thinking. That's where a lot of our desires and wants and needs are. And that's kind of like our imaginary, our mind that uses imagination and things like that. And this part of our mind takes in about 40 pieces of information a second, right? You think, oh, that's a pretty good amount. And, you may be even thinking, yeah, that's pretty awesome. Like, that's pretty good. But then you think about how much your subconscious mind takes in per second. It's like 11 million pieces of information a second. And the thing about the subconscious mind, it's more like a record player, more like a storage device. So it's not regulating what it sees. It's not saying this is good, this is bad. We can't use this, right? If it's bad, right? We'll get rid of this. That's not the subconscious mind. That's your conscious mind. So your subconscious mind is just recording everything, downloading it like a computer would, and putting it onto a giant storage device, which is your brain. And what will happen with what the things that's downloaded is they'll start to create programs. You can kind of think of these as like Microsoft Word, Zoom, different things like that, right? They have different purposes, and they can be started up and played to run that program. So certain things will happen. And so you can do certain things with it. That's what will happen with your subconscious mind. So let's say you have seen from your parents and from society that they just eat a bunch of toxic food. They eat junk food, they drink sodas, they're constantly just abusing themselves with these negative food. They're eating non-organic food, and they're happy about it. They're eating pizza all the time, right? And cheeseburgers and all that stuff. Well, your subconscious mind will start to create a program for that. So when you start to get hungry, you'll think, oh, we should have a burger. We should have a pizza. We should have some junk food. We should have a soda. What do I want today? Oh, I really want that chicken sandwich from Chick-fil-A with a large Coca-Cola and the French fries, right? That's your subconscious mind putting that program on. And sometimes it can be your conscious mind as well, if you're not being careful, and if you're not being actively aware of what's going on. But a lot of people, I think, have the conscious desire to eat healthier and to feel better in their lives. But then the subconscious is playing that program. And when these two parts of the mind are fighting, almost all the time the subconscious mind will win, because it's a much stronger part of our mind. And it's this part of our mind, you kind of think of as like a 300-pound gorilla. And we're just like a little kid compared to that gorilla. And it's able to tell us where to go. It's able to push us in directions, right? And this part of our mind, if we're trying to fight it, that's where we counter a lot of the self-sabotage that I work with and I speak and help people with. So that's why it's so important you understand what the subconscious mind is. I hope that explanation of the subconscious mind and the conscious mind kind of makes sense to you. One is the active part of your mind, the critical thinking part of your mind, the conscious mind. The other part is the record player, the storage device that is creating programs, kind of like a computer essentially, and playing those programs. And it doesn't matter if they're good or bad. They're healthy or they're not healthy. It doesn't matter if they're abusive or not abusive. It'll play them. Just depends on what is familiar and what it has recorded from the things we have seen. And I tell you this so that you are aware of, maybe you have these programs in you. Maybe you have these unhealthy eating programs for you. And maybe you have some young kids. Those kids are going to learn those programs from you. That's why it's so important you address these now, so your kids don't have to do it in the future. Your kids aren't stuck in this trap that you're stuck in when you say you want to eat healthier. You say, I'm going to be eating healthier tomorrow, right? Or I'm going to start eating healthy. And then you reach for that Coca-Cola and the burger. Or, you start saying, I'm going to work out, and you buy a gym membership, and then you never go, right? Or you say, this is the last day I'm going to drink. And then tomorrow you have a drink in your hand. That's exactly where I was. I was doing all these things. I was telling myself I want to do these things with my conscious mind. These are my desires. These are my wants. This is what I want to do with my life. But my subconscious mind had different plans. It had a different program built inside of it, and those two things were fighting each other. They were knocking heads, but my subconscious mind was winning. And if you don't know about how the subconscious mind works, you just think there's something wrong with you. You think there's something, you're lazy, that you don't have the willpower to do it, that you're just doomed to repeat these same actions over and over. Like, I know there was countless times I tell myself I want to stop drinking alcohol or start eating healthy, and then I just never would. I'd never stick to it. And maybe I'd do good for a couple of days, and the subconscious mind would say, whoa, what are you doing? We got a program here to eat unhealthy. We got to go back to this. And I get this major urge to eat something else. Or I'd start constantly having a picture of a cheeseburger popped in my head. Or maybe I saw a commercial and then my subconscious mind's like, oh yeah, we're going to eat that now, right? That's how it works. And every time you see one of these images again, it reinforces in your subconscious mind that program. So let's say you have a unhealthy eating program and you start to see a lot of advertisements for unhealthy food. That will reinforce in your head and make you start thinking about that food, make you start salivating for that food, make you start getting that hunger pains like, let's get that cheeseburger and french fries and Coca-Cola. But really, that's your subconscious mind and maybe partially your conscious mind because you believe that those things are good for you or those things are tasty, right? But they're artificially tasty. They have chemicals in them to make them have that delicious flavor. They have those chemicals in them to make you feel like you're getting that dopamine fix. And that's really what they are, is dopamine fixes. You're addicted to this food. And the reason why you're addicted to it is because your part of your mind really wants you to be eating it. So it's replaying those thoughts in your head over and over. It's giving you that urge to eat it. It's giving you that, it has that program built there. So I know I just went to a lot of information about the subconscious and the conscious. If you have any questions about it after this podcast, always feel free to reach out to me. We can always speak one-on-one. We can talk about these things. We can, I offer free strategy calls. So you can even just get on the call and talk to me about what's going on. And we can talk a little bit about, what you might want to be doing and about possible solutions to that. But most importantly, if you're going to be doing this by yourself, you're going to be addressing these problems by yourself, you need to realize, first of all, that you need to be the person protecting yourself. If you're going to be going out to the grocery store, try to start looking at the ingredients on things. Maybe consider buying that organic food and see how you feel once you start eating organic. Start reading the ingredients on the labels, and if you don't recognize something, do some research on it before you buy it. You might be surprised at what you're eating and consuming and putting in your body. And actually, more likely than not, you will be surprised because it's some terrible stuff. It has all these different side effects that is very negatively affecting our bodies and our health. And if you are trying to do this alone, also realize that you're going to encounter that resistance from the subconscious mind. And if that happens, know that's normal. That is not because you're broken. It's not because there's something wrong with you. It's because your subconscious mind has that program built inside of it. And if you want to do something better, you got to convince your subconscious mind that, to build a new program. You got to make something else familiar in your life. And you can do that with many different ways. But really, you got to convince your subconscious mind that this new life is the life you want to be living. You got to get it to work with you instead of against you. And that's where you can start making that change quickly. That's where you can start making those lasting, lifelong changes that so many of us wish we could make. So many of us wish we can start eating healthier forever. So many of us wish we can stop and quit the alcohol or quit smoking cigarettes or quit taking drugs. We can leave that toxic relationship instead of going back to it. But we have that program built into us, often from when we were back as kids. Those are where the majority of the programs come from, is when we were kids, and what we saw and what we were exposed to back when we were kids. And those ones are usually the most powerful programs because that's when the subconscious mind was so active. Well, I hope you guys all learned some information here. Remember, you are what you eat, and what you eat matters. It matters. If you're feeling hungry after you're eating, that's because you didn't get the right nutrients. So today we talked about, food, why it's so important you eat the right food, organic food, the nutrients in food, what they do for you. We talked about toxins. We talked about how toxins affect your body. We talked about how toxins change your pH level. We talked about the subconscious mind and the conscious mind and how they relate to food and how you're able to overcome self-sabotage and unhealthy eating and actually be able to make the changes you want if you can convince your subconscious mind that, that is the best thing for you, that's the right program for you. If you make that the most familiar thing in your life, then you can do that. And if you want to get more information on this, if you want to speak to someone, reach out, click the link below to schedule a free strategy call with me. I'd love to speak with you. Listen to my other videos to learn more about the subconscious. Listen to my other podcasts. Every Thursday I share information about overcoming self-sabotage, information that can be powerful for you if you want to be able to try to address these things on your own. And also on Sundays, I interview different people and they share their self-sabotage story. They share what they went through in their life. They share how they overcame it. And the reason why I would like to have other people on my show to do this is because it shows everyone that no matter where you come from, who you are, or what your life is like, you're able to overcome self-sabotage. You're able to do these things. Anyways, I hope you have a great day. My name is Tanner, and thank you for listening.